Is Microsoft Dynamics Nav, which is now also known as Business Central, the most versatile, scalable, easy to use, fastest, and most productive ERP software available?
Yes, it is. It's magical. Woo!
All right. Yay.
Over 200,000 businesses running this.
On the fat tire.
Or fat, what did I say, flat? Sorry.
If any of the operations that you're doing require the use of an outside processor or subcontract vendor, that is not supported with Assembly.
Don't be afraid to talk to your partner.
Today, we're drinking Arrogant Bastard Ale.
Oh. I want to know why Jim picked this beer over the other one.
Because I really think it resembled, my personality more than anything else.
Level 3, Knuckles has been dispatched. He's on his way.
I think one of the benefits and detriments all at the same time is the visibility that it gave us into our actual data.
Welcome to another edition of A Shot of Business Central and a Beer.
Hey everyone, it's time for episode 25 of A Shot of Business Central and a Beer. In this month's episode, we're still bringing you the latest Business Central news. We'll be joined by Staci Lingenfelter, who is an associate partner and director of ERP systems at Go2 Partners. We'll be taking a look at Job WIP in Business Central, and we'll be discussing some new upcoming Business Central apps. My name is Michael Intravartolo, A.K.A. the person who coined the phrase, "The greatest power in business is the magnificent power we all can possess, the power of Business Central." As always, I'm joined by the man who realizes that turning your ankle still hurts like hell, no matter if you're a Business Central superstar or not, Mr. Ken Sebahar.
Hey, Michael, how you doing? Happy to join you as always here, and on this special day in particular. Not only first and foremost, it's your birthday.
Oh, it is.
So happy birthday!
Thank you
Another
so
year,
much.
another year wiser.
Yes, very true, 100%.
And it also, not only if that's not good enough, it's also your work anniversary.
Yep.
7 years.
7 years.
Congratulations! You're officially a veteran.
Yeah.
Now
thank
at
you
this
so
point,
much.
I think.
I still remember on my 1 year anniversary, you called me up and you're like, "You made it a year. You're here for life."
And it may have taken me a couple of years to realize this, but it seems like you started working here on your birthday.
Yeah, I did. Same day. Go figure, right?
And it's still the same day.
Yeah, it's not going to change.
So yeah, happy birthday to you, and also welcome, Staci. We're so thrilled to have you with us today.
Yes, welcome, Staci.
Thank you for having me. Longtime fan, guys. Big fan.
Thank you so much. Staci was actually nice enough to go out and get the same exact beer that Ken and I will be drinking today. It's a beer by Pipeworks Brewing Company. Now, Staci, I think you said before we were chatting that you have not tasted this beer before. Is that true?
I have not tasted this beer. It looks very interesting. Very interesting.
Nice.
What's your usual go-to beer? Are you a beer drinker?
Oh, I am very much a beer drinker. However, I am the standard Miller Lite kind of girl. I recall from the last podcast that Michael was not aware of the calories. They are 96, and there is 3.2 carbs in a Miller Lite.
Really?
Yes, for your reference for the future.
Wow. I'll tell you what, those carbs make all the difference in the world after you try that non-alcoholic beer from the last podcast.
I bet they do.
Although Ken was a big fan.
I'd much rather have a Miller Lite, actually.
So this month we are drinking, like I said, a beer from Pipeworks Brewing Company. So let's get a little bit of background on Pipeworks Brewing Company. They're established in Chicago in 2012 by a couple friends who shared a dream of crafting quality and creative beers. Let's see what else we got here. What's interesting about this brewing company is in Illinois and in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Madison, Wisconsin, they self-distribute their own beer, but they use different distributors for other breweries nationwide. So,
different like rules by state or something, maybe, and who can distribute.
Yeah, but I went on their website. Kind of a weird website. You think you'd go on a brewing company's website and there would be a tab or something on the ribbon that said beers. There's nothing. I had to go into the ordering tab and pick like a style of how I wanted to pick it up and then see the list of beers. And they have 317 total beers. But this particular beer, and I don't know if Staci, you go out on beeradvocate.com at all, but this particular beer has no ratings, no nothing on beeradvocate.com. So I don't know if it's a brand new beer or whatnot, but I got lucky finding it at the first store I went to.
Well, I'm gonna crack it open and take a pour here. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh,
All right.
looks like a hazy IPA at first, kind of brown,
Yeah.
and
Kind of looks like apple cider.
yeah, it does. It does. Yes,
Smells like apple cider?
it does.
It looks like it.
Well, it smells fruity,
Yeah.
and the can has a bunch of cartoon characters on it, little people that are in the shapes of strawberries and bananas. So it says it's an oat ale with strawberries, bananas, and milk sugar.
The can kind of reminds me of like a 70s cartoon or something like that.
That's what I was thinking. The commercial for the movies, where the little
Yeah.
concession commercial where they
Right,
Oh,
at the
yes.
drive-in theater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
exactly. All right, let's take a sip here and see what we got.
Taking a sip. Oh, that's different.
Oh, that's really different.
It's got a little like sour, right? Like a little bit of sourness on it.
Yeah.
I agree. It's from I think the strawberry. It's not bad, but it's like the third sip, right? That's what they say. The first one's always the best.
Yeah. Or
Yeah, I'm not getting that. I thought like this in the aroma, I got more like of the bananas, maybe.
I'm not getting any oat, I don't think.
Yeah, it's kind of it says that's like a more sour than a bready flavor.
I'm not gonna lie. It's not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Which is always a good thing when you're picking out a beer.
8% alcohol,
That's always good.
and it's in a pint, the 16-ounce can.
Yeah.
So so Staci, I think that's almost like 2.5 Miller Lights.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I better not drink too much before I start talking, huh? Good thing I didn't have one before.
Yeah. But yeah.
Good though.
So this might sneak up on you a little bit if you're not careful.
I mean, you know what? It's a little bit of a different change. It's funny because this beer and that other one that we had, that milkshake one, judging by the names and the look of the cans and whatnot, I thought I was going to absolutely hate them. But it's not that bad. You know what I mean?
What an endorsement.
Well, it's personal preference, right?
It's not that bad, says Michael Intravartolo.
Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Did you notice it's a label on the can? It's actually like a printed label.
Oh,
Maybe
look at that.
Go2 Partners can sell them the labels.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, so you can just buy a boatload of these just aluminum cans and slap a different label on it.
I love how
That's
the
what it looks like.
specialist.
Yep.
I love how the specialist from Go2 Partners notices it, and we had no idea.
Of course.
She's looking at labels produced by
I'm gonna send this in.
It's not bad. So should we do an early rating and then maybe rate it again after it kind of gets a little bit more warm, or
It's up to you. You ready? I say let's wait. Let's hold
wait.
off. Yeah, need
all
to
right.
evaluate a little longer here.
Reminds me of like a pina colada type of a vibe or
So
something.
it's
you
kind
know
of
what
like
I
a
mean?
mixed drink, the fruity, the
Yeah, like
strawberry.
if I could
banana.
put a pineapple in this and be okay.
Yeah.
An umbrella.
Yeah.
So let's see what else we got then for it. I don't know if I mentioned this company makes 317 total beers.
Wow.
The name of the beer we haven't actually said is Groove Grove. It's an oat ale with strawberries, bananas, and milk sugar. It's a pale ale American.
317 beers. Wow. Maybe
It's a lot of beers.
pick a lane.
Yeah. They want to keep their craft status.
Maybe they have produced 317 beers like over the course of their.
I'll tell you what, when I went on the website and actually found where you can order the beers, there was a lot of beers. And the description for this one was, for the first time, we've brewed a beer with bananas. Groove Grove is a smooth and creamy blend of strawberries and bananas. The fruit duo seriously dances and swings through each sip. The fresh strawberries pop up front, and then the banana flavors swoop in for a seriously tasty finish.
Yeah, so I remember, now I know where I've heard of Pipeworks. They make a beer called Lizard King, and it's like a pale ale. That I've had one of those. I've had that a few times before.
Have you ever heard of Pipeworks, Stacy?
I have not. This was an interesting find when I saw it. So when I asked my husband, can you go find this? He was like, I've never seen that before. So as I mentioned to Michael, he had to go to several places to find it. So
Yeah.
I feel bad.
No, it's good.
And now you guys got 7 more cans, so hopefully you like it.
We do. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad. It's really carbonated. Like it's just consistently bubbling there. So
yeah, it definitely reminds me more of a mixed, like fruity drink than an actual beer for some reason.
And I think you prefer, at least I know you prefer more carbonated to less carbonated.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So it's not that bad. I can't remember what I paid for a 4-pack. I don't know if it was $12 or $15. So kind of comparable. With
You get 8% alcohol. You get
it's a big
kind of your money's worth there.
Yeah, for sure. It's not too bad. But enough with the beer.
Yeah, let's get
special
learn more about Go2 Partners.
Yeah. So, like we said earlier, we've got Staci Lingenfelter here from Go2 Partners. So, Stacy, you want to maybe give us a little bit of a background on, who is Go2 Partners and, how long they've been using Dynamics Nav for and whatnot?
So Go2 Partners is truly an amazing place to work. We've been in business since 1995. Go2 is an ESOP company, and our ownership culture kind of creates this family-like environment. So everybody's always encouraging everybody and supporting one another. We have 11 offices now. Ken, I don't know if you know this, but we recently opened our latest office in Viva Las Vegas. So this just happened. Yes, it's very exciting stuff. We have a whole group of talented people. It's hard to say what we do exactly. So it's more like the easiest way to describe it would be we identify customer challenges and then build a solution to address those challenges. So our services range from marketing to warehousing to technology solutions, supply chain solutions. Obviously, we sell labels as well, as I mentioned. We offer a really broad spectrum of services. So like I said, it's easier to list what we don't do than what we do. So
yeah, sounds like definitely a lot of things.
Yeah, it seems like it's really evolved over the years, right? From I think we started using Dynamics back in around 2007, I believe.
So in 2007, we started looking for a new ERP system, and then we actually implemented NAV in 2008.
Okay.
So, and we've worked with SSI since then. Even when we were looking, SSI was the first partner that came in to work with us to show us the solution. And obviously, we're very thankful we made that choice because as we've grown and expanded, it's proven to be invaluable to us with the vast variance of our different needs as they've come up. And we've never run into a roadblock once that we couldn't achieve something we wanted to in the program. So it's been awesome for us, I have to say. And SSI is awesome as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a real testament to NAV and now, of course, the newest versions of Business Central, because of the breadth of the product, right? It's like, you're like, oh, hey, we just expanded internationally. Can we do multi-currency? And it's like, yeah, that's standard functionality. Or hey, we just started doing this. Can we do that? Yeah, and it's like, it has a really good breadth of functionality that allows you to do different types of processes, right?
Yeah, it's very robust. We've went from a printing company and we've now taken on all these other services that we're doing. And we've been able to find a way to customize or do an add-on or we'll work with Armella. Like Armella is our developer, obviously, that from SSI, to just come up with creative solutions on how we can achieve whatever thing we need to do.
Very
Yep.
nice, very nice. So I feel kind of bad also because I should have asked you first to give us a little bit about your background on, what you do and who you are. So maybe you want to tell the listeners about that?
So my background as far as Go2 Partners is I started working there in 2001, which was prior to us implementing NAV. And during that time, I kind of took the challenge of developing and implementing procedures for the current ERP system as far as the administration and end user functions. So I was trying to define best practices and to reduce errors that were happening. During that time, we went through an acquisition. And after the data conversion was when we realized that the ERP system we had was not going to cut it. So that's when we started looking at NAV, and we looked at a few others and ended up, like I said, in 2008, implementing Navision 5.0. And myself, we acquired a few more companies, and then I've just evolved into this role of managing our ERP system and all the different technologies that are currently connected to it. So right now, I think we're running about 9 different platforms that we are integrated with, and we're currently looking to integrate more. So we've got all these various technology elements that we're connecting to, and we've grown and grown and grown, and now I'm directing all the little pieces that connect.
It's amazing. So when you first started at Go2 Partners, did you ever think that your role would evolve into being the ERP or director of ERP systems?
I did not. I started there doing inventory.
Oh,
So
nice.
It's a little crazy what has happened there. So just from isolating the issues and trying to do best practices, I started just really getting into the system. Our old ERP system was SQL as well, so it made it a little easier to get the information out of. So
it's great.
Yep.
True American story, I guess, right? Climbing.
It is.
Ladder.
Yes, climbing up the ladder. Yep.
So I don't know if Ken wants to take one, or you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I've got
All right. So what then, I guess, would be like your general perspective on NAV, or your thoughts on NAV? Maybe you got some favorite features. Maybe there's something you like. Maybe there's something you really don't, you really don't like about NAV.
I don't.
So.
There's nothing I don't like about NAV.
Mhm.
So NAV is like my child. It's actually a joke around the office. So I know it sounds funny, but I've literally feel like I've watched it grow up from a little baby, and I'm really protective of it. But if you can imagine taking something and adding all these customizations and just finding all these different ways to turn it into something that can almost seems like magic happening. As you got, automating something and the process, and watching somebody having to take 20 steps to do something, only having to take 2. So I love the flexibility of it. It's such an easy program to work with.
Yeah, that's a great analogy too, right? Like kind of raising a child from a child to being a teenager and then into an adult. You get to see all the different forms and shapes and how it takes shapes. It's pretty good.
I think that's really important too. Just from if there's people out there that maybe they're like looking at implementing a new ERP, right, or looking at implementing Business Central to understand that when you implement and you go live, that it you need it to do the required functionality that you need it to do, but then you plan on having it. It's going to develop over time. And you're going to add more features, add more functionality, maybe build more reports. That it does evolve. It's not like a static,
scalable.
A static system that just you implement it, it does what it does, and that's it, right?
Grows as you grow.
Yeah, and Microsoft obviously puts in new features and betters the features that are currently there, and it's always evolving, always getting better, always. New capabilities are coming out with it. So I love it.
Have you seen the newest version of it, Business Central? And if you have, are you a fan?
I've looked at some things. I've had a couple conversations with Ken about it. Upgrading is definitely on our radar. The leap to Business Central is a little scary. I think Ken referred to it as jumping into a pool that you think is cold. But it's exciting. So with the new plugin functionality and the promise of that less evasive future upgrades. So for us, obviously, lots of customizations. So we get a little nervous when it comes time to upgrade. But I think there's a lot there for us in the future as far as new capabilities. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I think that's the general consensus with everybody who has to make the leap from NAV to Business Central. Everybody's kind of a little worried, a little scared. Like you said, customization's got to be apps and whatnot, depending on the version. But
yeah, and there's options like of which version of Business Central you're going to go to if you're on premise, right? Or do you continue to go on premise, or do we move to the cloud, the online version? There's all these decisions that have to be made, but after you jump in the pool and after that initial shock, then before you know it, you're swimming around free and easy.
Yeah, just keep swimming. Absolutely.
Staci, do you have any lessons or tips for anybody who's new to NAV or Business Central? Anything that you can come out with?
I would say the one thing that I very much remember from when we originally went to NAV, when we converted the software, was we tried to make things like our old software. So we were changing it so that it would be easier transition for the end user. So my advice would be, when you're converting from another solution to NAV, don't make decisions so that it looks or works like the old software. It might seem like a good idea to make that transition easier for the end user, but it's really no reason to change the functionality. You are getting rid of that software for a reason, and the users will transition to it really easily. And we saw that especially when we went from Classic to the role-tailored client, where we didn't make changes. It was so smooth. It's just, people are so scared when they change. Just have them roll with it, and they're gonna love it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just
most people adapt, and I think that the trend is that more and more people, adapt easier and easier, it seems now, where even now with the newest releases of Business Central, people, a lot of people always said that, well, we want to use it out of the box and we don't want to customize it, but we're actually seeing that in action now, where people are doing that and they're adapting to it. And I don't know if it's just because of the pace of technology and they're used to learning a new app every day on their phone, I don't know, but that's what I'm seeing.
Or it's so feature packed that everything's
true. There. Yeah, I could see it doing that too.
Easy, big fella.
The point in NAV, right? The point from what my perspective was, if somebody who bought NAV, was because you kind of wanted to customize it and tailor it to fit your company and do what you wanted it to do.
Right.
It's one of the great things about it.
Right.
It
is.
You don't really hear too many people running out of the box NAV, right?
No, there's usually, it always has been a real sweet spot is where, there's companies out there and they've been looking at ERP for a while, at new systems, and they do something that's unique, we do this, or we do these two different things that we can't seem to find in one system. And we've looked at all these different systems. And then with NAV or Business Central, it's like you're able to develop it to fit that one major uniqueness or something that you have.
Yep.
And then everything else, right, is vanilla.
Right. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody saying, "Oh, I really wish we didn't have these customizations and we were just running it out of the box." Could you imagine using your software, Staci, with no customizations, no nothing? It might be.
I cannot. It would seem so tedious to do so many things that we've, automated to process. So, but I can say we have changed some things that we initially programmed to work a different way. We've changed it back to how it originally was, because we realized it worked better how Microsoft had originally designed it. So we've had a couple, bumps and bruises along the way, but we've learned a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. You live and you learn.
Yep.
Definitely. Got anything else you want to
Yeah, I mean one question that I had from your role internally, I guess just speak to like on a day-to-day basis, just what are some of the ways that you help Go2 Partners run and operate Dynamics successfully, right? And like, how do you interact with users, or how does that process work to make sure that all your end users are happy?
So at this point, we have an actual team. So it's a group of 4 of us. I would say 5 if we include Armella. But we are, we're constantly maintaining, going through, just designing, developing the different integrations we have. I still, because I've been there for so long, and I've been there since our inception of NAV, I literally still today was answering questions about inventory. So my day-to-day is still just like it used to be. I have the same interaction with end users, helping them to solve some business problem that they have, how they can do it in NAV. We are literally every day doing some sort of customization, and I'm not even kidding. So we are just consistently, and we use Jet reports and Power BI. So we're constantly building reports. Like I said, there's 4 of us at this point that are working in there. Customers, we help them as a service doing data mining on their information that's in our ERP system and helping them make decisions. So we are just all over it, put it that way, if I could say it like that. We are just in there and making the magic happen.
Yeah, it's almost like a blessing and a curse, right? At times where, like, let's say, a user comes up to you and says, hey, I'd really like, if we could move this field over here, right? That would really help me out a lot. And then, you go do it and you come back 15 minutes later and you're like, hey, check that out. And right. And it was like so seemingly easy that, right. That just opens the floodgates of requests for you.
Well, that was the beauty of personalization. I didn't have to do that anymore because they were able to move it themselves.
Yes.
But I know what you're saying about, like, they want to add this column or that column or that column. And then they're like, oh, there's so many. And it's like, again, you can personalize that and you can move things around. I hope to God Business Central is like that. I haven't looked into that, but
you're gonna love Business Central.
Okay. Is there drop and drag? Okay, that is the one feature I do have to say I don't like, when you're personalizing and you have to use the up and down button. So do we have drop and drag yet?
Oh yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh.
When you personalize a page, right?
Yes.
You can drag columns around to move them in order. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
I don't know up and down, but
Yeah, right. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, I missed that because Classic, you used to be able to move things around. So I missed
Yeah,
that.
there's still, I think, like at this point with Business Central, there's, with all the new technology, I mean, now you can run it on your iPhone or Android tablet or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there's a huge technological shift that got done. And I would say that like 98% of all the things that you at any point could do, you now can do from personalizing it in terms of dragging columns around, expanding the width of the columns.
Yep.
Choosing.
How about, is that on the web, like the web interface as well? You can do that?
Correct. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah, on premise, it's virtually.
Yeah, I mean, in the newest release, it's all web client. It's all, they call it the modern client, and it's all, whether you're running it on your phone or your Windows 10 machine, it's the same user interface, really.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so that's something even more so to look forward to.
It's a next generation software in the now.
Look at this guy.
It's working, man.
It's a beautiful thing.
All right. Well, all right. We don't want to keep you too much longer. So if Ken doesn't have any more questions, we can jump into the rapid shot, and then we want to get your review of the beer.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ooh.
All right. So it's 5 yes or no questions. I'll pay my homage to Dave from Barstool Sports. Everybody knows the rules, as he says. So here we go. Number 1, are you a fan of artificial intelligence within ERP software?
But of course, yes.
Do you use Microsoft Teams?
I do not know, except for this call.
Oh. Number 3, are you related to John Lingenfelter of Lingenfelter Performance?
I am not, but I do wish I was related to the Lingenfelter Corvette guy. But go ahead.
That's the guy. That's the guy. Yep.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
him.
the
No,
guy.
I'm not, unfortunately. Maybe somewhere in my lineage, but no, not that I'm aware of.
Number 4, do you think on-premise software is more secure than cloud software?
I have to say, yes, I do.
And 5, so last but definitely not least, I can't talk, is Microsoft Dynamics Nav, which is now also known as Business Central, the most versatile, scalable, easy to use, fastest, and most productive ERP software available?
Yes, it is. It's magical. Woo!
All right. Yay. Oh, great. Well, you successfully did the rapid fire question segment. So now all that's left is the beer. Tell us what you think and give us a rating on the scale of 0 to 100. I think we do below 50. You can't drink a glass.
I'll start. How about I
Jim's
start?
going. All right.
I don't want Staci to have to go first.
Put the pressure on me. Go ahead.
Right,
Go ahead, Ben.
So my rating system, 0 to 100. 50 means that below 50 means I'm probably not going to have another one.
Right.
Over 50 to 100 as I will. So I am exactly sitting on top of the fence right now because I kind of like it, but it has there's a sourness to it, and I'm not a fan of sour beers.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 50.
Oh, that's a lot lower than I thought you'd go.
Yeah.
Would you prefer me to go next, Stacy, or you want to jump in?
I can go. So I have to say, I don't hate it, which I was really surprised. I thought I was going to hate it. The only thing I don't like, and I don't know if you guys will agree with this, is it kind of leaves a palate in your mouth of a banana. Like, I don't know. There's like a little bit of a gritty thing going on. I don't know. But I don't hate it. So if I had to say, will I drink another one? So 50 was the rating. I would say 60. So I'll probably drink another one.
I'm way out of the park here now. So me, I look at this as a beer that would kind of maybe replace wine and like a wine tasting with cheese. You know what I mean? You know, for the Kentucky Derby, you've got your hat on, very gentlemanly like, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna go 75. I could definitely drink a couple of these on like a nice day. To me, it's a very light beer, maybe almost too carbonated though, or maybe that's just the oats talking. But yeah, I'm gonna go 75.
There you go.
So,
I don't drink wine, so maybe that's why I don't.
yeah, I really don't either, but I just kind of picture wine and cheese for some.
Yeah, I haven't done a statistical analysis, but I'd have to say you're a higher grader than I am. Would you agree?
Probably.
Generally?
Yeah, but you're also a more seasoned beer drinker than I am.
I don't know. We've been at this for like 2 years now.
Yeah, but I literally, the only time I drink alcohol is during the podcast. So once a month, you know. And before the podcast, I never really drank beer. It was always, if I had a drink, it was more like a mixed drink, you know what I mean?
You've come a long way, kid.
Yeah, yeah, especially since I didn't like that non-alcoholic beer, which was...
Now you're drinking banana strawberry oat ales.
Yeah.
For crying out loud.
My beer can's got an umbrella in it.
With milk sugar. The milk sugar is still a little...
Lactose? Is that the word?
I don't know.
Lactose? Yeah. I'm not lactose intolerant, so we're okay.
There you go.
All right, well...
All right.
We appreciate you taking the time, joining us on our podcast. It's been a lot of fun, and, you know, thanks for all the insightful tips and whatnot. We truly appreciate it.
And I truly appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, Stacy. All right.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
That was pretty good to have Stacy from Go2 Partners. A little disappointed that she's not related to the Lingenfelter guy who's actually customized the Corvettes. But can't win them all, right?
No. She checks just about all the boxes except that one, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, it was great to have her on here as an end, just having an end user, and her perspective and how I thought it was really, eye-opening of how they took the system, how they deployed it. They were doing print distribution, 15 years ago. And now they're basically a technology, marketing, and warehouse consulting services company, right? And providing a lot of other different types of services, but yet still able to use NAV to manage, and Dynamics, right, to manage their business.
Yeah, it's really always good to hear the perspective of somebody who's actually been with NAV and used NAV for an extended period of time. Not a lot. A lot of customers we talk to, whatever, they've had it for 1 or 2 years, but to hear somebody who's actually, gone through the classic client, the Roll Taylor client, and seen the differences and added all the customizations, it's really refreshing to hear somebody who, I guess, is on board, who's drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, right, with NAV and loves it. And, you take advantage of the features and you use it for what you can, and it works out really well. So,
yeah. And I've seen, a lot of companies out there that use Dynamics, and the ones that are the most successful, that get the most value out of it, are those that have someone like Staci in-house on staff, right?
Yep.
Who does take ownership of the system, and then works with users to make sure that it's meeting all their needs, and that they have the reports and the data that they need, and can do also some of that legwork internally, because you don't always want to have to be reliant on your Microsoft partner,
right,
to be doing everything for you.
Yeah.
So if you have that someone in house, they can take on quite a bit, quite a significant portion of the role.
Yeah.
And then you involve your Microsoft partner for those technical pieces or certain parts where maybe you don't have a certain knowledge, maybe like on multi-currency,
right,
or some manufacturing process that you haven't implemented before.
Yeah. Right. And I think when we had Mark Hike on, our director of implementations, one of his key things to a successful implementation was having the proper resources. And I would say that for a bigger implementation, somebody like Staci is the proper resource, somebody to kind of manage it in-house, knows about it, and like you said, not relying completely on the partner, because A, it's costly, B, it takes a lot of time, you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, she definitely adds a ton of value, and Go2 Partners, I believe they've gotten a significant amount of value out of their ERP because of her role there, and what she's been able to do.
Yeah. All right, well, great to have her on. Hopefully we can have her on the podcast again. But moving right along into the shot of Business Central. Bunch of different news this time around, because the Directions Conference just wrapped. It was the first time, I believe it was virtual. It was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so April, 26th, 7th, and 8th.
And this is the Business Central Partner Conference.
Correct.
Right?
Definitely. So a lot of cool information, a lot of cool sessions. But some of the things that I got the takeaway is that for Business Central Online, it's got some momentum, right? So now there's 15,000 customers online.
Wow. Over
1,400 apps on AppSource. This one was pretty shocking. There is a 200% annual user growth.
Very good.
Yeah, and just over 2,700 Business Central partners. Wow. So it's pretty good with momentum.
And that's important. I mean, that tells me that there's a huge user community out there, both partners on the partner side and customer side, and a ton of online content, user forums.
Yep.
And like, there's plenty of partners out there that can help you, right? As an end user, right? Tons of possible opportunities to get, have companies to provide services for you.
Yeah, I think Microsoft is actually realizing their goal, right? Lots of partners. It's global. It's great software. It's, efficient and whatnot. So, but some of the things that they were talking about with the improvements to Business Central, The one I want to talk about is the speed improvements. So it is 20% faster to open the Roll Center page, 98% faster to post payment journals, 40% faster posting of background document batches. There's been a 3 to 5 times reduction of SQL reads with Dynamics 365 sales integration. I know a lot of people have complained, well, not complained, but have had issues with the system running slower when they have the Dynamics 365 sales integration. So it's really good to hear that. Web services are up to 25% faster. API performance is up to 5 to 6 times faster. And report performance is up to 3 to 6 times faster.
Wow.
So that's pretty huge for reporting performance.
Yeah, no, that's very important. I think it's always one of their. I mean, there's a few things that concern them when they're looking at running, going to Business Central Online. Is it secure?
Sure.
Right, and I think we've talked about this before, where Microsoft is probably better at implementing security policies than a small to mid-sized business.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
But the other thing is performance. They people are used to having total control over their server and their infrastructure environments, and they know they can throw more resources at it if it's not running fast. Yeah. And there's, their one of their concerns was, well, if I go to this Business Central Online, I don't have control over that. What's the performance going to be like?
Right.
And, definitely Microsoft recognizes that, and that's continuously being improved.
Yeah.
As you just demonstrated.
And I think another thing that a lot of people are kind of concerned about, and I'll let you talk more about this, is when they first start looking at Business Central, and especially in the past, is the storage capabilities of Business Central. I mean, I know it has been costly for certain storage things, and a lot of people question, is the 80 gigabytes enough or whatnot, but they're making a lot of improvements, and I know you've got a list of what they improved on.
Let's talk about that real quick then. One of the so with every Business Central deployment, right, every company received 80 gigabytes of space. Now I'll tell you that's quite a bit of space, especially if you consider that attachments, right? When you store like a picture or images, those don't count against that 80 gig, right? And Microsoft is doing SQL compression behind the scenes, which effectively doubles that capacity.
Yep.
So you're talking about 160 gig of data in your database. That's huge. Well, they had come out with a pricing policy where they then said, okay, fine, but if you still exceed that, you can pay per gigabyte of space. What they're now coming out with, and this is going to be rolled out in July, is a pricing model change where you're going to actually you'll get a fixed amount of like 80 gig plus an extra few gig, I think it is, for each user. Essentials or premium user that you have. So if you have like 20 users, you're going to get like an extra 40 gig, right? Yeah. So the more users you have, the more space you get, which totally makes sense, right?
On top of 80 gig.
Because you're paying a monthly subscription fee for those additional users.
Yep.
So if I've got 100 users and you've got 50 users, I should have more space. I have double the number of users. So I'm probably going to have double the amount of data, right, to store. So that was a big announcement that Microsoft just came out with that is going to, I believe, and I think Microsoft honestly believes, it's going to eliminate storage as even an issue.
Yeah.
A consideration.
Right. And kind of touch on what you also said too. They're also going to offer bulk pricing. So, for instance, if you buy, the bulk pricing is to buy an additional 100 gigabytes of data. So right now, or as of July 1st, the cost will be $500, which is basically $5 per gigabyte. Right now, though, this is before July 1st. If you were to buy that same amount, it's $4,000. Yes, a $3,500 savings. That's pretty huge. 100 gigabytes of data is a lot of data. Yeah,
we have customers, by the way, that have been running Dynamics NAV, right, or even now have upgraded to Business Central, and they've been on it for 15 plus years and their databases are 10 gig or 20 gig, right? So
Very efficient.
there are some customers that have databases in the several hundred gig for sure. But
Not your average business.
in reality, those are not the companies that are immediately going to be moving to Business Central Online.
Right.
They're going to continue to operate an on-premise system because of their size and scale, and their maybe integration requirements or whatever.
Customizations.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So that I think effectively storage is effectively not even a consideration now with this new pricing structure.
Yeah, so storage isn't a consideration, speed isn't a consideration, look and feel isn't a consideration. Sounds to me like people just need to jump on and buy it.
There you go.
Some of the other couple little miscellaneous things that I got from directions is Microsoft Teams is fastly becoming the go-to platform for everything. The integrations with Business Central and all the other software is pretty amazing. So if you're using Business Central and you're not using Microsoft Teams, I think it's definitely something that you want to explore using.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, like when we were talking to Staci, you said, "Oh, do you use Teams?"
Yeah.
She doesn't. Well, that's like a corporate mandate that
Right.
like they had previously, previous to a year ago, probably implemented because they have a number of locations all over the U.S. Right. So remote meeting technology was something that they had previously considered and implemented.
Yeah.
Right before Teams really became
popular,
product,
and then with the pandemic and everything, for sure.
Yeah. So there are those companies that we still deal with where they're still using other meeting technologies. But I think you're right. I think what they're going to see is, hey, maybe we should just use Teams.
Right. In full disclosure, I'm really talking when I say Microsoft Teams with Business Central, I'm really talking about Business Central Online because of the integration. So, people using Nav on premise, not going to apply to them as much.
Please, I heard people referring on the street to you as Teams. They just call you Michael Teams.
That's right. Yeah,
Intravartolo.
that's why. Yeah, there goes Mr. Teams. When I put the chains on, Mr. Team. All right. What else I heard is, and this is pretty good for all the on-premise customers, Business Central and also Dynamics GP on-premise is not going away. Microsoft said they have new releases scheduled through 2025 and beyond. So I was on the boat when I heard Business Central, or when I saw what it was in the beginning was Project Maduro or whatnot. I immediately thought, GP's got to be going away. But Microsoft says no. So competencies. There will be a developer certification competency for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central returning. When they said returning, I can't remember if this was part of NAV. Maybe
there was a developer certification. Yeah.
So,
but now that we've moved to AL Visual Studio Code, I'm sure it's going to be a completely revamped
for sure
certification.
And to keep right along with competencies, Microsoft also said there is no specific competencies planned for manufacturing or warehouse components. So your Business Central competency, I guess, is just going to be general.
Just the implementer one that's out.
Yeah. And then one last final thing from directions is app source billing. Ken and I talked about this earlier, and Ken kind of stole my thunder as he knew about it. But Microsoft does intend to take over the billing for app source apps to provide customers with one invoice instead of, you've got 10 different apps on your thing and you're getting 10 different invoices from 10 different companies. However, there's no roadmap for this right now. So
by the way, I didn't know it. I guessed it.
Well,
I just said, let me guess. They're working on it. They know it's something they need to do, but there's no specific plans at this point, right?
Yeah, definitely guessed right.
So I think we just have to be patient, and that it will roll around.
Anything you want to talk about from directions?
Yeah, I got a few things. So one of the announcements that came out recently was that if you're running Business Central, this is only for Business Central on premise. There used to be two SKUs that you could get licensed for if you wanted to do your own development. It was application builder and solution developer. Okay. And the solution developer license is effectively what a partner gets, which allows you full access to all the source code. And so what they're saying is that with the release of this latest release here for on-prem, those tools are deprecated, no longer valid, and not needed. So customers can develop using Visual Studio Code and AL without those. Right? They're not needed anymore.
Okay.
But just noteworthy that you still, if you're running on premise, you still need to buy and pay for objects in the 50,000 range if you're going to be building custom tables, fields, reports, and so on. So that's just one little tidbit there. That
Not going away.
No. The other thing, a couple other little notes. This is just a little note. There's a company that's been around, Agilis. Had a product called Agilis Workflow. So maybe some people are familiar with it. They became there. It's now called Aptean Advanced Workflow. So I think they merged with a company called Aptean. So they're rebranding Agilis Workflow to Aptean Advanced Workflow.
Nice.
So that's coming out. More details coming out in July. And then one other little note I wanted to mention. This is not specifically related to Business Central, but it was news that came out over the last 30 days, which is that Microsoft has purchased a company called Nuance. I don't know if you're familiar with Nuance. No. It's Microsoft's second largest acquisition ever.
Wow.
$19.7 billion purchase of a Boston area company, Nuance Communications. So
AI?
You got it. Yeah. Nuance, a longtime leader in artificial intelligence-fueled speech technology.
I can see that.
So
Totally makes
the
sense.
primary application is in healthcare.
Oh, really?
So Nuance, their product is specifically related to healthcare, so Microsoft, it's a IT healthcare play for Microsoft.
It's interesting because I know Apple has one, and I think I remember Amazon was partnering with maybe like the likes of Warren Buffett or whatnot to provide some sort of healthcare stuff or whatnot too. So
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, so it's AI within the healthcare industry. It's technology that's being used. The question is, what else can be done with that, right? So upon first glance, you're like, well, I'm a Business Central, user. This really doesn't relate to me at all. And there's a lot of purchases like that over the years.
Yeah.
Like Skype, for example, that you're like, okay, well, that doesn't directly relate to Dynamics, NAV, or Business Central to me. But now look where we are today. Skype has effectively become Teams.
Yep.
And now Teams is fully integrated with Business Central.
Yeah.
So the question is, what may be down the road several years from now, maybe, but having to do with how speech-based AI, right, is integrated with Business Central. Can I just say to my computer, which salesperson has the most sales for 2022, and the answer spits back right on my screen?
Have you heard? Now they've got this speech AI thing have you heard where they've recreated songs by deceased people like Amy Winehouse, Jimi Hendrix, where they take their voice and all the samples they have from their voice, and they actually create a song, and some of them sound just like it's
because of those different fragments that they're able to kind of piece together.
It's kind of scary. So, but speaking of artificial intelligence, maybe you could tell me if this is artificial intelligence. I was noticing this. I don't know if this was earlier today or yesterday. I'm doing a sales order, purchase order type of thing, and I got the sales order open, and I'm entering line items, and you got to change the amount that it costs or whatever. So let's just say something cost. It popped up at first as $1,800, but now it costs $2,000. When I opened the purchase order, and I typed in the item number, it automatically changed it to the 2,000 and not the 1,800. And I don't know if that's because both were open and it recognized that I was kind of working along. Have you seen that?
I don't know exactly, but
yeah, I had to do it a couple times, and I'm like, I don't ever remember this happening before. I always have to change it on the purchase order.
there's news every day. Like, part of what it's like it's a struggle to keep up with what's new, right? Because these major releases every 6 months, there's just continuously new features. I used to joke, I think I said back when 2018 came out, I said 2017, I hardly knew you.
Yeah.
Because before you know it, there's a whole new load of new features and functionality that's coming
and it's
out.
like obsolete, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we're going to have to put the tinfoil hats on to use this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
It is exciting. So.
Yeah. I got a couple other little things for Business Central news. There is a brand new Business Central blog that is hosted by Microsoft. And one of the disappointing things about this is, though, I went on this new blog. There's not really any. I think there's been 2 blog posts in the past 6 months. Like, Microsoft isn't very diligent with keeping up with or creating blog posts for Business Central.
They should hire you.
Blog. Yeah, there you go. That's okay. No offense, Microsoft. I'm happy. And then 2 more things. First is, as of April 12th, the Microsoft Dynamics Business Central app is officially available for everybody to download in Microsoft Teams. And then version 18 has begun rolling out, and I think you noticed something kind of interesting with the version 18 rollouts. And
I did as a matter of fact. So what I did was, I got an email notification because I've set myself up on my environment to get notifications when an update's coming out. So it said, "Hey, your update's coming out." And it's going to be scheduled for May 10th through June something, 1st or whatever. And I know because I'm a Business Central user that I can go into the admin center and I can actually schedule my upgrade on a certain date. So I changed it.
Before the proposed date.
Yeah, I did, yeah. So I changed it from, it was May 10th to June, whatever. I changed it to April 27th.
Yeah.
And so the next day, I got an update, and it said, "Hey, your environment's been updated."
Wow.
To the newest version.
Before the time,
right?
yeah.
What's the new one? 18? I lose track.
18, yep.
Yeah. It's been updated, and I'm like, cool. So even though it told me it was scheduled for a couple weeks out, I was able to manually go in and change it for tomorrow or tonight, and then it did it overnight, and I came in the morning and I had the email and my environment was
Pretty
upgraded.
cool.
So I'm like, awesome. So I logged in and I'm looking at some of the stuff, and then I get another email that trickles in from one of my other environments that I'm set to receive notifications on. And it says, "Hey, just to let you know, we've temporarily put a pause on upgrading all environments to version 18.
It means they missed something.
So, right, yeah. So long story short is there is currently, as we sit here today, at the end of April, a temporary pause on deploying these updates into production environments.
Yeah.
But
it should be fixed pretty quickly.
I'm sure there'll be an update that gets applied, but I've already updated, so
you're good.
I'm not sure
What
exactly. Yeah.
It's probably conflicting with some extension or some Microsoft extension that's new or that.
I haven't seen any issues or had any issues. I've been in there doing some things, so far so good.
All right. Anything else?
No, not for the news. No, I think I'm good. We covered quite a bit of ground here.
We did. And next up, we've got Professor Ken going to be talking about Job WIP in Business Central. This month's Business Central feature is something that, as of late, it seems more and more people are interested in, so there's no better time to learn about Job WIP than the present. So, Professor Ken, take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. Yeah. So, what we want to talk about here is, a module within Business Central called Jobs. So, this is always one of the fun topics of discussion that we have with customers and users is, I see that Business Central has a Jobs module. Should we be using that? Right? So, a lot of people call themselves job shops. Mm-hmm. I'd say almost half the time, the fact that you describe yourself as a job shop means that you should be using the jobs module. And the other half of the time, it means you should be using the manufacturing module.
Really?
Right. Right. Because a lot of people think of themselves, they'll say, well, we're a job shop because we're only going to make this item when we get an order for it. Right. And you go, okay, well, that could be just a made-to-order manufacturer, not necessarily a job shop. So there's always an interesting conversation about how companies see themselves or describe themselves. And ultimately what it boils down to is kind of the structure of what you're building, right? So someone who is, let's say we build bicycles, right?
Okay.
But we have some standard model bicycles that we build. But then we're also going to work with some companies that want us to manufacture bicycles for them, and we're going to change up a few things. In that model, I have a bill of material, right? And it could be a multi-level indented structured bill of material. And maybe a routing process that says these are the steps that we're going to go through to do this. And I want to track labor and consume materials and so on. That very well could just be manufacturing. It could also be done in the jobs module. So you go, well, what the hell? How do I pick? How do I choose? What I would tell you is that there's a possibility that you could use either. However, the jobs module is really, think of a job as a one-off, right? It's a unique project that we're going to be doing.
Okay.
So a common example of that is someone who builds customized machines, right? That's a good use of jobs where
Because each project is a one-off.
each machine is unique. I'm building it specifically for someone's. Or my favorite example is a custom motorcycle shop, right? You come in with a design. You want this gas tank that looks like this put on it. You want these types of handlebars. I'm going to be custom manufacturing those handlebars. I'm never going to do it again.
Gotcha.
Right? You've given me these specs. So I'm not going to go through the process of building a detailed bill of material. Right? Why would I set up all these items and components? I'm gonna build them as I go through this job for this job. They're going to be consumed into the job, and I'm never going to do them again.
Right.
Right. So those are the types of things that become jobs. The other example is where you're gonna be building something, and it's or maybe a group of something, and it's going to take several months, right? And the way you're billing the customer or when you're billing the customer does not associate directly with when you're consuming all your expenses and costs.
That's a distinguishing characteristic of a job shop?
Correct. Yep. So because we're on a shot of Business Central and a beer, a good example of a job would be that we're going to be custom building some new equipment for our newest brewery location. We're going to open up a brewery on the East Coast somewhere. And so we're going to need some custom designed tanks and pipelines and a bar. So some woodwork for a custom bar we're going to have built. We're going to need labor, right? We're going to have to send some of this stuff out for finishing maybe. Right? We're going to have shipping costs because we're going to have to ship this. We're going to have it manufactured and then shipped to this location. That's a good example of a job, right? Or an office remodel, maybe, where I have to purchase a bunch of furniture, but then I have to hire painters, electricians, other types of service people. And when I'm going to do this work, we're going to be custom building this brewery. We're going to want to collect a deposit from the customer. right? And this is where job and job WIP, work in process, comes into play.
Okay.
So let's say that, what's it going to cost us to build out this new brewery?
Let's just say, I don't know, $1 million.
$1 million. That's going to be a nice brewery.
Yeah, very nice.
All right.
Go big or go home.
So it's going to be $1 million. So our customer, right, has said, hey, Ken and Michael, we want you guys to custom build. We need all this custom, brew tanks, pipelines, storage tanks, but also a kitchen, maybe some kitchen equipment and dining room, furniture,
dining room, exactly,
bar stools,
right,
a bar, some counters and cabinets and everything. So we're gonna set up a new job in Business Central, and we're gonna associate this job with a customer who's having us build this for them. And we're gonna say we go through all these numbers and we estimate these are all the materials we're gonna need, right? And I'm not gonna say, well, I'm gonna make this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. I'm just gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna need 1,000 pounds of rolled steel for the tanks. And I'm going to need 150 2x4s and 100 4x4s, right? The raw materials that I'm going to need is what I put there as my order, or the materials that I'm going to budget. And then all my estimated labor, maybe some outside processes, some shipping costs. I put in all these different types of costs, travel expenses for my team to go out and actually install this stuff there, airfare and hotel and all that. I can estimate all those types of things as job costs on the job. And then when I tell the customers, hey, it's going to cost you $1 million, and you go, yep, they go, that's great, $1 million. And I say, all right, guess what? I need a deposit from you for $250,000, right? Because I'm going to have to order all this stuff, and I'm going to have to pay my people while we're producing it. And so I'm going to ask for a deposit, $250,000.
Sure.
Well, in the normal world, and if I'm doing sales invoices to a customer, when I invoice the customer, I have to bill them for something, right? And then I also I book revenue. Well, in this case, I cannot book revenue just because I charged you $250,000 on a deposit invoice. Okay. So that's where Job WIP comes into play. Job WIP says, when I bill the customer for something, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm recognizing revenue or costs. Instead, I have a method that I'm going to set that says how and when we want to book revenue and costs for this job.
Okay. So,
right. So what I really would want to do is I'd want to take that $250,000 check, I deposit it, and I book it. It's like a prepaid prepayment from the customer.
Right.
Some people call it like deferred revenue, where I have to track that on my balance sheet, that I have your money, but I can't yet book that revenue.
Okay.
So there's multiple methods that describe how and when I can go about booking that revenue. And that's where Job WIP comes into play. And that's why the jobs module can be so useful for these types of companies that are working on these projects. So, for example, the simplest, I believe, of the WIP methods is called completed contract.
Okay. So
what completed contract says is, I don't care what you're billing the customer for this job. You can bill them 25%, 25%, 25%, right? Over 3 months or whatever that you're working on it. But we are not going to book any revenue or book any costs to our income statement until we complete the job. Right? So that's the simplest. So as these costs accumulate, I'm purchasing materials, I'm applying labor costs to the job, I'm paying for freight or travel expenses or engineering and design time. All those costs are being accumulated in what we call Job WIP on the balance sheet, like as an asset. And all my revenue that I billed the customer is sitting on my balance sheet. And then once I finish the job, it says, okay, you're now complete with this job. Book all your billings as revenue and book all your costs as cost of goods sold. And do it in the same month. so that it's all hitting in the same month,
Okay.
right? Because the alternative is if I've done it over 4 months, I don't want to see $250,000 in revenue over 4 months, and maybe 1 month has a $250,000 gain. The next month, when I consumed all my materials, I lost $100,000. I want all that to sit on the balance sheet and then recognize it at the end.
So is this style more for then keeping track of financials, or is it more for an organization type of purpose?
It's more for financials.
Okay.
Right. For financial reporting. Like how and when are we able to recognize revenue on this job? And then the WIP method makes sure that you're using that process, but also then that you're matching the associated costs with that revenue in the same period. So it avoids this wide fluctuations in profitability month to month. Right.
Because of different jobs.
Yeah. So let's go to another WIP method. Another WIP method is percentage of completion. And this recognizes your revenue on the job proportionately based on the percentage of completion by looking at your total expected costs compared to your total actual costs.
So does it matter which, can you use either or? Is it personal?
Each job can have a different WIP method assigned to it. So you could have different types of jobs that have different WIP methods assigned.
But in the end, is the ultimate financial reporting the same, I guess?
Well, it depends month to month. If, let's say all of these are 4-month jobs for $1 million, right? In the completed contract method, I'm going to book 0 as cost and revenue for the first 3 months.
Right.
And in month 4, I'm going to book
Everything.
$1 million in revenue and maybe let's say $800,000 in costs.
Right.
So
and then the next style will be 250 over 4 months.
So percentage of completion. So let's say like we're going to bill them $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our costs are going to be $800,000 over 4 months. So we're gonna make $200,000, right, in profit.
Okay.
Now, let's say in this job I bill the customer for $250,000 for a deposit, and then I also incur $400,000 in cost in month 1.
Okay.
Which is half of all my costs.
Right.
Because I had to order, I had
Everything
to
up
purchase
front, yeah.
all the stuff up front. And I had a bunch of labor too, maybe, or other expenses. So under a percentage of completion WIP method, what happens is it says, well, wait, you estimated your total costs were going to be $800,000. In this month, you booked $400,000 or 50% of your costs. So let's book 50% or $400,000 as your cost, and then let's book a proportionate amount of your expected revenue as revenue, or $500,000. So in that month, I'll have $500,000 in revenue and $400,000 in cost.
So you're not in okay.
Right? So I'm matching my revenue and my profit margin of 20% is going to stay 20% every month. And it's going to be based on the actual percentage of costs that I've incurred compared to my total expected.
So my question is, though, if the end result is the same for the different WIP styles, right? How do you know which one to choose, or does it matter which one you choose, or just is it really based upon your accounting reporting style, I guess?
Correct. It's based on your organizational decisions of how and when you want to recognize revenue. There are cases where GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, dictate how and when you should when you can recognize revenue, or when you should recognize revenue, right? So there are different industries and different types of things that you could be selling through a job that dictate that you book your revenue and costs differently. But usually, most of them, it's a lot of times like on a piece, someone who's manufacturing a custom piece of equipment for someone, like a motorcycle or something, let's say, or other device. they're going to book all the revenue upon shipment, which is really kind of completed contract.
Okay.
Right. So, but construction industry, right? Maybe percentage of completion. So that says we've incurred half of our costs on this job so far, so we should be able to book half of our revenue.
Gotcha.
Right.
Makes sense.
Another, just a final option. There's 5 total out of the box options, but
really?
just to give one more example, is one that is called cost of sales. Sorry, hold on. I think it's sales value. That says, on this job, I want to book revenue based on when I bill it, but then also book my expected amount of cost of goods sold also in that month. So what, again, it smooths out your profitability, right? So let's go back to my example where in month 1 of this 4-month project for $1 million in revenue and $800,000 in cost, I billed the customer $250,000 and then I incurred $400,000 of actual costs. Under the sales value, if I've billed $250,000, so I want to book revenue of $250,000. Now, I've actually reported $400,000 in costs, right? Mm-hmm. What it will do is it will see that I've booked $250,000 in revenue, which is 25% of my total revenue. So it will say, well, let's only book 25% of your costs as cost of goods sold. So it will do an adjustment to book $200,000 in cost and then take the other $200,000 in costs and move it into my Job WIP account on my balance sheet.
Wow. Pretty nice.
So, yeah.
So are these just the options you can choose?
Per job, yes.
Nice. Very nice.
And we actually have people that are using this that change their Job WIP methods mid-job.
Really?
Really. So it's month to month. So you book your WIP entries for month 1.
Yeah.
When you get to the end of month 2, you're going to calculate new WIP values. Well, what it does is it does actually 2 entries. It does a reversal of month 1 and the new booking of month 2.
So why switch though? You just don't like the way it's appearing on the...
Conservative accounting principles
Gotcha.
sometimes dictate that you use one method, but then if you become like where you're over budget, you switch so that you're recognizing those sooner.
Makes sense.
Those losses sooner rather than later. Mm-hmm. There are some legit reasons. I don't know. I'm a failed accountant. There may be some illegitimate reasons that people would change their WIP methods in the middle of a job.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the thing is, you can pick and choose job by job. Some jobs you may not even have a WIP method applied. In that case, Business Central is just going to book your actual revenue and costs based on when you post those invoices and post those costs. So you don't have to use WIP. Okay. You can just say, I just like on a service job, right? If you're just doing a small service job, you may not have a WIP method. You may just say, we're just going to post these costs as they're incurred and bill the customers when they're billed because it's small, it's immaterial. Right. It doesn't make sense to go through this WIP method. But on the other hand, I would say, well, yeah, but why not just use completed contract then? So when you complete the service job, you book all your costs, all your revenue in the month that you complete it, because you might cross over multiple months. Right. You start the service job on the 28th of the month, incur some costs, and now you finish it on the 3rd of the next month. It doesn't hurt anything. And why I say that is because, and this is huge, this is really the piece de resistance, is when you get to the end of the month, let's say you have 150 open jobs. You get to the end of the month. Most of the customers we deploy on Business Central that are starting using jobs, I say, how do you book revenue today? How do you track all this job WIP? They say, I have a huge spreadsheet. At the end of the month, I have to get all these totals. I have to update the spreadsheet. It takes me 2 days. It takes me a week. We have to all get together. We have to talk to each other. We have to make decisions. We have to figure this out. And it takes a long time. In Business Central, you go into the Job WIP page. It pulls up all your jobs. You hit a button called Calculate WIP. It evaluates all the jobs, looks at the WIP method, looks at all of your actual costs, all of your expected costs and budgets and billings, and it calculates all these values for you.
Wow.
You have an opportunity to review them for reasonableness, right? And see the entries that it made. If you like it, you hit a post WIP button.
And that's it.
And you're done. And
So you're going from days and week or whatever down to
10 minutes.
wow.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. and that is the power of the Job WIP method is when you get to the end of the month and it's automated, it's accurate, right? Because the system's doing all the math and the formulas. Right. It's based on the data that's in the system. We do have the ability to change the WIP method if we have to. And also we have a full audit trail because it doesn't delete any of the prior month's WIP values. It leaves those there. It just reverses the previous month's ones in the current month and posts the new one.
That's important.
So I can still go back and say, what was my job WIP value as of December 31st, 2020? And I can see a report that shows that.
Pretty amazing.
So this is a really powerful tool. If you're doing jobs, again, I like to think of the custom motorcycle shop as the perfect example of where you'd want to use jobs, right? I don't want to create a bill of material that shows all of the pieces and components that I'm going to put into that rear wheel assembly. Right. I just want to say, hey, I need to order one of these tires. I need to order, I'm going to make a rim. I need to order an axle or whatever.
It's all for a one-off product.
So it's I don't have a structured bill of material. I just have all the pieces, a flat bill of material, if you will, or the pieces that I need to make it. And the job tasks describe the various tasks that I have to do to build that motorcycle. And those can be, I could just have maybe 2 or 3 tasks that describe the major elements of building that, or I could have 100 tasks, and I break it down very granularly into, build, design the gas tank.
Right.
Another one to manufacture the gas tank. Another one to paint the gas tank. So there's really no rules of how detailed or how summary level you can build a job task. It's really just any level at which you want to be able to monitor your budgeted costs versus your actual costs.
Now, licensing wise, you have to be a Business Central premium user, I'm assuming?
Jobs, I believe, is included with the essentials.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Even better.
Yep. So, and I think we may have actually recorded a session maybe about a year ago, jobs versus manufacturing.
Yeah, assembly orders versus production orders and whatnot, yeah.
Yeah. So, was that assembly? Okay, so that was assembly orders versus production orders, right? So let me just cover a couple things when you say, well, am I jobs or am I manufacturing?
The great debate, right?
This is really something that you should talk to someone who knows what they're talking about, right?
That's where your partner comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Again, I mean, manufacturing is, even if it's a custom type product that you're building, if someone is building a formal bill of material and they're building the items and components and subassemblies that are going to be produced to make that finished good, that's where you're using manufacturing and production orders. If instead, like on the custom motorcycle, you just say, hey, I need this much sheet metal, I need this much paint, I need this much, I need a couple handles, I need a seat, I need this, I need that. And then the tasks are where I'm actually just, like virtually or building that together. That's where jobs comes into play. I don't want to have to go through the process of building all these multiple levels and indented BOM structures and creating routings and scheduling capacity.
Gotcha.
All that's manufacturing, and that's all in Business Central manufacturing. The jobs is where, again, it's a unique, I've got some engineering that's going to go on in there, custom designing some stuff. I'm going to make it, I'm going to sell it, and I'm not going to do it again. right?
Want to give everybody a quick thing to let them know what assembly would be then?
So yeah, well, so now you're like, well, what about assembly? You just said assembly.
Yeah.
What the hell's assembly?
Good point.
Assembly is think of that as like the term like that other people might be familiar with is like kitting. Assembly is a very simple process where I'm taking multiple components and I'm producing a finished good. And what I mean by that is a simple process is I can create an assembly order. Let's say I'm going to make 1,000 12 packs of beer.
Sure.
Right? And so I'm going to create an assembly order for 1,000 12 packs. And I'm going to use 1,000 boxes, 1,000 labels, and 12,000 cans of beer. And I'm going to go do that process. And when I get done, I'm just going to hit post. And it's going to put 1,000 12 packs into inventory. It's going to consume 12,000 cans, 12,000 labels, 12,000 boxes. I don't have the ability to do shop floor labor, time entry. I can't report scrap. I can't consume my quantities before posting my output. Those are things where manufacturing comes into play, right? So think of assembly orders, that simple process. I'm doing something. I'm going to tell it how many I made at the end, and it's going to put that into stock and backflush all my components.
Now, do you see a lot of companies confuse, I guess, themselves with being a job shop or manufacturer, or a manufacturer being a job shop, or do they primarily know what they are? Because I know with assembly orders versus production orders, and manufacturing for assembly, a lot of times you guys have had to go in there and
Yep.
say, no, you're not really assembly. You fall more into this category.
Correct.
Do you see that a lot with job shops and manufacturing?
Yeah. So what we see is generally someone who says we're a job shop. Sometimes they are truly a job shop. They use jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're really like a made-to-order manufacturer.
Gotcha.
But what we don't see is someone saying, I need manufacturing software. And they end up being jobs. That doesn't happen because the people that think of themselves as manufacturers, they know they have structured bill of materials and routings and maybe doing some backflush, some manual flush, capacity planning, MRP.
Yeah.
All of those things are traditional manufacturing. And someone who's doing that, they know I'm a manufacturer. It's more sometimes people say we're a job shop, and it turns out that they actually are a much better fit for manufacturing. Yeah. Right? It's just sense. They're a manufacturer. It's just all their parts are custom created for one customer. Right?
Yep.
So they think of themselves as a job shop because they're like, well, I only make a part, and that part is specific for one customer. And I'll say, well, yeah, but will the customer maybe call you up and reorder it in the future?
Yeah.
And I go, well, yeah, once we have the product, they'll reorder periodically. And I'll say, well, and then you'll produce them periodically? Yeah. Okay, that's manufacturing.
So really one of the main determining factors whether or not your job shop is if it's a one-off product or whatnot.
That's
right. Yeah. Like your Orange County choppers, motorcycle builders.
Exactly.
That type of thing.
Yep.
And not to get too much off topic here, but I've been seeing a lot lately where people have talked about how they've used MRP as an ERP. Do you see that a lot or no?
Well, what I see in the small to mid-size segment is, and I don't necessarily view this as a negative, by the way, is companies that really can't effectively run MRP.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that they're a small to mid-sized business. They need agility, and they need to be flexible and change the plan today, right? The customer calls up today, changes their delivery date from tomorrow to the next day. We adapt. That's what we do, right? It's one of a small to mid-sized company's strengths, right, is that flexibility, customer service, adaptability. Well, that plays havoc on an MRP, where you're building a production schedule for a week.
Yeah.
and you're locking it or freezing it, right? They call it a frozen schedule, right? It in a small company that needs to be nimble and quick, it doesn't really work that well. So that's where you see things like other reports that they're running or other ways that they're kind of working maybe around the system to get stuff expedited or done. And again, I don't think it's a negative. I think it's part of the company's strength. It's just that you have to understand, it's like having your cake and eat it too, right? Yeah. I want the system to build the plan for me and structure it. Well, fine. But you can't then set that plan and then an hour later say, you know what? I don't want to follow that plan. Can you work on this right now? Because the customer just called and they're pissed. Yeah. Right? So let's do this. You just blew up your whole plan because there's so many dependencies, right, on that task that I was supposed to have done by 11 so it could move to the next operation. And you have this, the impact is huge. So, but yeah, we've been seeing a ton of action though on companies that are job-based organizations interested in Business Central. And the flexibility and ease of setting up a job and making it a very simple structure, combined with the ability of using the WIP methods to give you flexibility and to bill the customer whenever you want, under whatever terms you want. And then have the system manage all the revenue recognition and cost recognition for you
in a matter of minutes.
It's huge. Yeah. Right. And that's where it really shines. It's like, why are we doing all this work? Right. Well, that's why. Because at the end of the month, you have reliable numbers that are automatically calculated for you. Right. That you can depend on.
Sounds good. Sounds really good. So, well, thank you, Professor Ken, for the jobs schooling.
There will be a quiz in the next segment.
As long as I can ask questions. Maybe we will do an online quiz, maybe.
There you go.
All right, next up, we're going to talk about 3 brand new Microsoft Business Central apps that will be coming to App Source shortly. So stay tuned.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our next segment here. This is Ken Sebahar, and we're going to be hitting some apps. So our app spotlight session. And today, we're going to be talking about a few new apps that are coming out or have recently come out that have been developed by Microsoft. And so I'm going to let Michael go ahead and clue us in on some of these details.
Yeah, so like you said, we're going to be doing a little bit something different this month. Instead of talking about apps that we've actually got to try out or whatnot, we're going to talk about 3 apps that Microsoft is pretty excited about that is coming out. Now, I think Square, and I know Square, which is one of the apps, is actually on App Source. So, But let's start with Bill.com. That's the actual name of the company and also the website. So who is Bill.com? Bill.com is a leading provider of cloud-based software that automates complex back-office financial operations for SMBs. So what does this app do? It will allow you to streamline accounts payables and receivables, automation workflows and payments. Mutual customers will now be able to take control of their financial processes, save time, and scale with confidence through the power of integrations, accounts payables and accounts receivables, intelligent automation workflows, and payments. So, sounds like a financial app to me.
Yeah, it does. Basically, so it's a way that I can, let me see if I can, in layman's terms, kind of regurgitate what you just said. So from an accounts receivable perspective, I can use this as my method of delivering my invoices to my customers, tracking the if those have been paid or not, actually getting paid for those, and then syncing up that data in Business Central.
Yep, exactly. So benefits include reduced manual entry errors through active two-way sync, improve team productivity by going paperless to make payments, manage approval workflows, and control cash flow. And if anybody has gone through the pandemic, like I guess we all have over the past year, paperless is becoming a sort of a buzzword and a goal that a lot of people want to shoot for. And last but not least, you can reconcile accounts faster because payments are paired with their matching invoices. Haven't seen it work. Just heard this from one of the Microsoft representatives at Direction, so I'm interested to see how it plays out.
It's also kind of an easy way. I think they support ACH and credit card for payments.
Oh.
So you're kind of letting Bill.com handle all the payments and all
makes sense with the name like Bill.com.
all that, right? So you don't have to deal with a lot of that hassle.
Exactly. All right, next up we've got Square. Everybody, or most people, have probably heard of Square Payment, or have actually used Square Payment when you go somewhere and pay for something. So who is Square? They are a publicly traded financial services and digital payments company that is based in San Francisco, California. You know, like I said, most of us have heard of or used Square Pay before. So what does this do for Business Central? It does exactly what it does for other times when you've used it. It lets you accept payments quickly, easily, and securely so you don't ever miss a sale. So whether you're selling in person, online, or on the go, Square is going to help you get paid fast and every single time. Right now, you can find the Square Payments app on AppSource, and it will automatically sync with Dynamics 365 Business Central. So, you know, you're able to keep all of your payments in one place.
Yeah, and I don't know the details of this, but I know like typically Square originally it was a point of sale device, right? So you could be you could be a beer vendor.
Yep.
You could be a beer vendor walking around selling beers and then accepting credit card payments on a Square device.
Yep.
So to record that credit card payment.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I visit a lot of different coffee shops, and a lot of these little coffee shops actually use Square as their I guess point of sale, whatever you want to call it. So it only makes sense that they'd venture into Business Central, especially since it's a growing type of software. And next up, we have an app by the ODP Corporation, which is basically the parent company of Office Depot. So what is the app that they've created? It's a digital procurement platform that is going to help you automate repeatable tasks, equip people with real-time insights and analytics through artificial intelligence to help your organization embrace digital sourcing and purchasing. According to the press release, as part of the collaboration with Microsoft, ODP will leverage Microsoft Azure to migrate existing workloads and legacy systems to Azure. ODP is working to bring the power of ODP's new digital procurement technology platform to Business Central customers to help them realize immediate purchase savings and procurement automation. So what I gather from this is they're going to leverage the power of artificial intelligence and Azure to help you save money by showing you different types of items that you can procure for the best price.
Yeah, and integrate that with maybe purchase orders inside Business Central.
Could be. Definitely could be. But not too much. I don't know what they're going to call the name of the app. I don't know if they're going to call it just ODP procurement or something, but...
Yep, that certainly will be interesting. I mean, you know, a lot of business-to-business purchasing, right? A lot of we've seen a lot of where there's integrated portals and things like that.
Yeah.
Ariba was a company years ago that was out that they had like a procurement portal that companies would use that they then integrated with their ERP system to auto create the purchase orders and everything. So my guess is maybe this is something similar to that, where data is being shared between your ERP and this ordering portal, and maybe.
Now, do you think this is something to kind of combat the inefficiencies, I guess, of having a global supply chain through the pandemic, where it wasn't as beneficial to start getting resources and products and stuff from overseas? You want it to be more local or whatnot? Do you think that maybe they saw that as an issue?
Yeah, I think, ultimately it's about allowing companies, better tools to make them faster, more efficient with how they do their purchasing, right? So instead of me having to go, like example, I totally don't know the details of what this is going to do.
Nobody really does.
But basically, let's say that like I want to order some products. I would have to go out to some websites. I'd have to go find the products I want, look it up, and then I'd have to go back into Business Central, create a purchase order, right? Think about if I were able to go to some portal, do a search across multiple vendors, let's say for a product, hit a button and it creates a purchase order for me, right?
Yeah.
That type of simplicity and integration, that's potentially one of the types of things you can do. And also cost savings, right? Because now maybe I can compare pricing faster and easier. And maybe I wouldn't even compare pricing before. I would just be like, you know what? We need some of these. This is the easiest one for me to buy it through. Let me buy it from them.
Right.
And now I have better tools that allow me to shop for a better price.
And maybe that's where the artificial intelligence aspect will come in, right? Where it'll automatically know which product you want and show you the best price.
Right.
Without having to compare.
Yeah, and I could look at it and go, well, this one says I need 100, but they can't have them to me for 3 weeks. Well, maybe I don't need them for 3 weeks, so that's fine, right? Or I go, no, you know what? I need it tomorrow, and I only need 10, so I'll pay a little bit more, but let me get them from these guys. So it's just giving you more visibility to pricing and just better decision making.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting with these apps, though, because really you don't hear Microsoft talk too much about upcoming apps that are going to be on Business Central, or on App Stores.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, this is actually I'm
excited about it.
looking at an article right now on MarketWatch.com.
Oh, really?
Press release on ODP Corporation teams up with Microsoft to transform how businesses buy and sell. It says ODP to leverage Microsoft Azure, bring its digital procurement platform to Business Central customers.
Not bad.
So,
Not bad.
yeah.
Fun fact, I actually got published on MarketWatch once.
Look at that.
All right, so that wraps up another episode of A Shot of Business Central and a Beer. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Do not forget to share this, but I think Ken has got one more thing.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, Michael, I appreciate you being here today on your birthday, on your work anniversary. And for me, there's nothing better than spending time with the master of marketing, the prize winner of promotion, the slayer of sales, the top dog of trade, the wizard of web optimization, the prodigious producer of podcasts, the baddest ass blogger, the hero of hype, the maestro of messaging, the Pulitzer of publicity, the OG of PR.
Awesome.
The big dog of ballyhoo. And also the king of kindness, the finest of friends, and the consummate coworker.
Well, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate that.
Cheers to you.
Thank you. Oh, that's pretty good. I love it. The prodigious. That's great. Awesome.
So hope you have the best of days today.
Thank you. Yes, always fun spending time with you and drinking some beers and talking about Business Central. So, thanks everybody. We'll see you next month, and don't forget to share the podcast. Go on iTunes or whatever platform it is that you listen to us. Like it, leave a comment. If it's a good comment, we might actually share your comment on the podcast. So,
Go Business Central.